All right, students, today I am going to recreate these shapes, this nose cone and these fins in OpenRocket. And the first thing I need to do is be able to have my measurements. And so using Shapr3D, one thing that I can do is I can tap on the things that I want to measure, and then oftentimes it'll tell me what that is. So the diameter of this is 23.8, and then the diameter of this right here is, let's see, 24.819, and I can pull up dimensions that way. Those are pretty easy. If it's a direct line, I can, let's see, that's the length of this whole line, and I can find from this point to the inner point, that is 24.1. But what if I wanted to find out not how long this line is, but how far that point is away from the center? So I could double tap here, I could pull a line in here, and then I could try to get that straight. I don't know if that's exact. And a lot of times when you're designing things, you need to be precise. And so there is an easier way than trying to measure things with lines and tapping on shapes, and that is using an architectural drawing. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to start off by clicking on Share. You're going to go to Export. You're going to say Export Project, and then you're going to tap on where it says Drawing right there. All right, and then you're going to select the objects that you want to be included in your drawing. So I have the nose cone and then the fins, and then I'm going to say Next. And then here I have the ability to give it a name. And then I have the ability to choose my sheet size of paper. So for the purpose of this, maybe I want to print it in just a basic printer. I'm going to say ANSI, ANSI, and then I'm going to say 11 by 8.5. And you can change it to like up and down or sideways. I'm going to do sideways. And then I'm going to say include 4 views, top, isometric, front, right. And then I'm going to turn that on, and I'm going to say continue. Now it's going to give me drawings here. Okay, and then the properties, I'll get rid of that. Okay, so you can see that you have a 2-dimensional view from the side, a 2-dimensional view from the top down, right here, and then you have a 2-dimensional view from the other side, which is very similar, if not identical, to the one over here, and then you have kind of a 3-dimensional view of it in the top right-hand corner. All right. So you can see, let's see, okay, at this point, what I'm going to do is over here on the right where it says properties, top right-hand corner, I'm going to tap on that, and you have the ability to change your properties here. One thing I pointed out in my previous video is that the decimal, instead of using a decimal point, it uses a comma, which is kind of more European in style. So we're going to change it to a period, which is what we use here in the United States. So I'm going to change that. And then other than that, I think we're good to go. So at this point, I'm going to close that. And then I want to start making sure that it has measurements on this piece of paper, because right now it has drawings, but it doesn't have any measurements. So on the left-hand side, I can click on where it says dimensions. And then there are different ways that I can measure. So I can do line length. That's going to work for a lot of what I'm doing. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to say, which line do I want to measure? Well, let's do the bottom of the nose cone. Okay, that's 23.8. millimeters, and I can actually, let's see, I can kind of move that closer or move it down depending on your needs. Let's say that I want to measure from tip to tip of the fins. So the problem with that, let's get in here, let's get a measurement of this right here. Okay, now the problem is that is 11.4. That's just this line from one fin to the other side of that kind of like part that goes into the inside of the body tube. That's probably not exactly what I want. So maybe I'm going to change my measurement. I'm going to say done. I'm going to click on dimensions again. And then maybe I'm going to say point to point distance. And then that gives me the ability to tap on this point to this point. How far apart is that? 24.78. That's smaller than I thought it was. I thought it was going to be 24.8. All right, I can also measure from maybe this point to this point. And now you can see that my dimensions are kind of like right on top of each other. So maybe I'm going to drag this one up and then show that that's going from, let's see, side to side. So maybe I want that down below, and then maybe I want this one up above it. All right, and I think in the properties you can make your your numbers a little bit smaller if you wanted to. Okay, but that's showing my measurements. I could probably even bring this one up here if I found that to be easier to read. Okay, different ways you can do it. Let's say that I wanted to go from the tip of the nose cone down to the very bottom of the nose cone itself, and then maybe I want to measure the part that goes on the inside of the body tube. So I'm going to click on dimensions again, and maybe I'm going to go from this point, and then I want it to go straight down. So maybe I'm going to say the tip to the line. So maybe what I'll say is where it says point to line. And I'll go from that point to that line. And then I can bring that in. And then maybe what I could do is I could do point to line again. And then I could do point down to this line here. And then maybe I can move this over here. All right, so different ways that you can measure, and you can kind of mess around with that. And just so you know, you could also say note, and then you could like point to this right here. And then we could say, let's make this out of carbon fiber, which we're not, but if you wanted to make a little note, you can, and then it'll point to that and make a nice little note, which is kind of a really cool function. All right, once you do this, you can share it with yourself. So you can go to, let's see, export drawing, top right-hand corner, and then you can do it in PDF, and then you can email it to yourself, and then you can, let's see, I'm wondering if I resized it, and it's kind of weird. Okay, so you can export it, PDF, and then you can send that to yourself, and you can, again, apparently you need to zoom in and zoom out in such a way where it puts it on your piece of paper, and then you can send it via mail.